all again, and we will have a few beeps, but I appreciate people who are adding people in as they go. So today, just to go over a little bit of what we are going to cover, some Whova basics, just some lay of the land a little bit to get to know what this platform is. Our oral presentation format. I want to go over why and how you can record your presentation. So if you are an in-person presenter, it is not mandatory for you to record your presentation to upload, but it is strongly encouraged, and we'll go through a few reasons why that is. Alyssa will be covering a demo of how to upload your presentation or your poster onto Whova. And then there's a few little notes about poster presentations and moderator guidelines at the end to make sure that everyone knows what everyone does. And then there should be more than enough time at the end to take any questions that you have. All right, so Whova basics. Whova, if you weren't a part of the 2021 National Monitoring Conference, Whova is the online platform that we use for last National Monitoring Conference and for this upcoming National Monitoring Conference. It is going to be an all-encompassing. It provides a chat function to talk with all of your attendees, a networking ability. You can post things in there, including your own presentations, links to things that you'd like people to look at. You know, there's just all sorts of functionality to it, which is awesome for a virtual platform. So if you have attended, or if you are attending as a virtual attendee or as an in-person attendee or moderator or presenter, you have access to this as long as you've registered for the conference. All registrants will have their own customizable profile. They can end in biographical information, resumes, preferred pronouns, pictures, you know, fun tidbits about yourself, you know, things that really connect you with others around you. And I would encourage everybody to go on and to set their profile up, regardless of if they're a presenter or moderator. If you are a presenter or moderator, it is important just because your abstracts are out there and people want to know who you are. So please do that. In addition to that, an important note, presenters must be registered for the conference before they get a Whova profile. So if you haven't registered yet, you will need to do that before you get access to this. In addition to just the normal, what everyone gets has available to them, presenters can also update in their abstracts. So in previous conferences, you would have to have sent, you know, a newer version to usually our contract person, Kirsten from Tetra Tech, to upload, and that is no longer the case. Now you can do all of that on your own and people can see it real time. You can post your pre-recorded presentations on there. You can add in supplementary documentation. So, you know, up to 2 different documents, and we'll go over that in a little bit as well, but that's a really neat function. So if you have additional things that you want people to look into in addition to your presentation, you can draw their eye to that. You know, we do ask that all oral and poster presenters enter their biographical information by April 7th. So I know that's right around the bend, and April 7th is going to be kind of our mainstay date so that we don't confuse with so many dates of when this is due and that's due. April 7th is the big one. We know that is coming out quickly, so, you know, we can work with people if they need a little extra time, but I highly encourage everyone to get their biographical information and all of their information out to the various places they need to be by April 7th. For people who are going to be presenting in person, the oral structure, the way the session is structured is 90 minutes, and there are 4 15-minute talks. So you have 15-minute talks, 5 minutes available for questions in between, and then you're moving on to the next one. And there'll be, you know, 10 to 15 minutes at the end for a larger group discussion. The moderators will pay close attention to that time and will shuffle you on. So, you know, please make sure that as you're preparing your presentation and practicing it, that it's within that time frame. Important date here again If you are an oral presenter, you need to send your PowerPoint slides, so not a recording, but the PowerPoint slides themselves, to Kristen Perry, whose contact information is on here and also within the instructions. You've probably been well aware of Kristen so far, as she is our main point of contact for all presenters and moderators. And please send these presentations also by April. So it's about 3 weeks from now. Now, the reasoning why we need this information so far in advance is because we have to take everybody's presentations and put them onto different computers, arrange them so that it's just an easy upload once we get to the day of. So there's a lot of background work that goes. So the closer the closer to that April 7th date that you can provide us your presentations, the less, scurry on the back end there is for us, and we greatly appreciate that. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that people who are attending in person, so that includes both oral presentations and poster presentations, aren't required to provide a a recorded presentation, but we are strongly suggesting it, and we have a few different reasons why. So, not only if you're attending in person and you present in person, you are going to reach a select group of people that are interested in your work, but they may have other places or may have other sessions that they are also interested in attending, and maybe they can't attend your session at that time. If you pre-record that, it will help those people get to those places and get to see both of your presentations at once. It makes all of your research more accessible to all the virtual participants. And as of right now, I know we have somewhere between 60 and 100 people who are attending virtually as well. So, they would really appreciate to see your presentation on top of our asynchronous presentations, which will be on there. If for some reason, I hope this is not the case for anybody, but if some reason that you get ill, family gets ill, you have a travel issue and you can no longer attend, this is also a way for your information to get to the conference participants without, completely missing it altogether if you're an in-person presenter. HIRA conferences, there's lots of background information on this, and if you are a presenter, there's a little section in the presenter guidelines of different reasons why you should pre-record and give those presentations a virtual go as well. All these hybrid conferences benefits all participants, and it also benefits the environment. As we all know, traveling is very environmentally costly. It's expensive, and there's a lot of CO2 emissions. So, as we all try to do our part of cutting down on that by going virtual on some of this, that also helps. Your presentation, it's not just like a once shown and done. It is available online for up to 6 months or for 6 months after the conference. So that's a really good reasoning. So if somebody doesn't get a chance to see yours right away, they can go back and see it. There's also the added benefit of recorded talks being able to be nominated on for a council-sponsored open access webinar. And so we will have a spot on Whova for people who saw something that they really enjoyed to go and say, hey, I think this would be really good for the National Water Quality Monitoring Council to ask this person to come present to a larger group. And we can help set that up. So this is a great way to facilitate that as well. So with that, I really hope that you do pre-record, even as a practice run, pre-record it, send it in. It doesn't have to be a verbatim of what you just presented, but it would be really helpful to everybody involved if you were able to pre-record that and post it on Whova. For people who are going to be attending in person, for your in-person session, please come to your designated session room 15 minutes early. So at that time, the moderator will go over the instructions. We'll talk through a few things and make sure that everybody has everything that they need. That might be also an opportunity that if you're like me and you like to tweak things on the last minute and have a slightly newer version of your presentation that you would like to give instead, you can upload that via your USB that you'll bring with you. All computers will be provided and they will all have Microsoft PowerPoint on them. So this is also why we ask you to get your presentations in early so we can preload those. You will not be able to use your own computer to present. If there was some, very special extenuating circumstance in which you would need it, you would need to clear it through us, through Monty and Dave and myself, and Kristen Perry as well, to make sure that we have the capability to switch that out. But it's very, very unlikely that we will be able to make special arrangements otherwise. So if that is something that's, a pressing issue, please contact us and let us know early so that we can work with you. Presentations must be Windows compatible. So if PowerPoint is usually the easiest, but if there is another source that you would like to use, it has to be Windows compatible. Your PowerPoints, as I mentioned, will be uploaded for you, the ones that you submit by April 7th, before the conference. So they'll be uploaded there when you get to the room. And we also suggest, in case there's a corrupted file, you have updates or something, bring your presentation on a USB flash drive, just so that if there are any things that goes wrong, we still have a copy of it and we can, take care of that relatively quickly. Another thing to note, there will not be high-speed internet in the session rooms. So we do not suggest you use internet for any sort of aspect of your presentation. We also don't suggest that you use any sort of fancy work. So any animations, videos, audios, or other software, things that can slow it down. If you do decide to try this and it causes technical difficulties, you won't be allotted more time. So you're stuck to the same 15-minute presentation and 5-minute question window that all the other presenters in your session are. So please keep that in mind. When you present and introduce yourself, the moderators are only going to give your name and your affiliation. So we've left it up to you as the presenter this time to talk about yourself and how you want to introduce yourself and include that in your 15 minutes. We ask, if you are comfortable with it, to include your pronouns. And if you are interested in learning more about Indigenous land or labor acknowledgements, there are some guides for both of those things, as well as the pronouns, on the National Monitoring Conference website. And I urge you to go and look at those and to learn more. Also, just one last little point. When in your presentation, please try to avoid jargon or acronyms. I know as a government person, I utilize acronyms as part of my daily language. So try to cut down on that, because not everything means the same thing everywhere else. Finally, once in person, if you get questions at the end, that little 5-minute section at the end, or even during the larger Q&A section at the very end of the session, please make sure that you repeat the questions before you answer them, that you always use the microphone to answer the question and to repeat the question as well. That's just because it's really hard sometimes. I know we've all been in conferences before where somebody a few rows ahead of you had asked a question and the presenter had responded, but you didn't hear the question. So please make sure to remember to do that. Answer concisely. Also, if somebody is interrupted, please make sure to go back to their question and answer that. And then stick to the time limits. So moderators will be there. They'll have, during your actual presentation, a little 5-minute card, a 1-minute card, and they will stand up and cut you off if you aren't responding to those. And then, since as I mentioned, we do have people who are attending virtually. Don't forget the virtual participants. So I know it's busy during conference week, but if you get a chance to log on to Whova and see if there are any questions or concerns or people who are interested in talking further about your work, please make sure to engage with them on that for any sort of question or networking opportunities that might arise. Now, I've spent the last, 10, 15 minutes talking a little bit about the in-person presenters, but we also have the asynchronous presenters, and these are people who are pre-recording their presentations. They may or may not be attending in person at the conference. The asynchronous presenters, you are also to stick to that same 15 to 20-minute presentation length. Your video, as should anyone's video who is recording, should show the slides prominently with the audio. It is important to record them and save them or export them in an MP4 or a YouTube link. Whova does not accept other sorts of file types. So no WAV files, no PowerPoint show You can't use those sort of files either. So make sure that it exports as MP4 or YouTube. And if you do record yourself on PowerPoint, it automatically gives you the option to save it in MP4 or in WAV. So just make sure to save that in MP4. Presenters are not required to be online at the same time as the in-person session. So if you are scrolling through, you'll see all of the related talks to your talk in the sessions in the agenda. You're not required to be on at that specific time, and that's fine. Feel free to check in whenever you get a chance and just see if there's any questions that pop up. You can even send a message and say, hey, I'm going to be online from this time to this time if anyone has had a chance to see my presentation. And you can try to garner interest and response that way. Your presentations are going to be due by April 7th. So these are the pre-recorded versions for the asynchronous people, and they will be online for 6 months after the conference. So just something to keep in mind. So there's lots of opportunity to go and see this work. If you are an asynchronous presenter, but are also planning on attending in person, please attend the session, which you are going to be most closely related to. Those session moderators have been instructed to highlight your talks. So I will show you a slide at the very end of what that's going to look like and how that will work. I realize this is a change in pace from before. This is our first swipe at doing a limited virtual hybridized, limited hybrid conference. So we have on general, or usually, and this year was no change, we have somewhere between 450 and 500 abstracts that are sent in every year. And I think we had somewhere around the line of 470 this year. We are only have space for 270 abstracts. So in the past, we would just have to say, I'm sorry, we don't have space. Like, I'm sure this is a great presentation, but we don't have space for it. This asynchronous presentation is a new, excellent way to still get that information out there to all of our water monitoring professionals that attend. So I really am grateful for all of our asynchronous presenters for being willing to present and to upload your presentations. And I really hope that we get in-person presenters who are also willing to do this. So looking forward to expanding our National Monitoring Conference from this year and forward. Now, you'll see this in here a couple of times. I just want to make sure that everyone knows. So the National Monitoring Conference does not endorse specific products or services. So if you work for a company or a corporation which uses a traded product or a branded product, please use a generic descriptor so that it doesn't come across as a commercial. Just to make sure that that is known to all. At this time, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to send this out to Alyssa, who is going to go onto Whova to showcase how you can put, sorry, I see a question that has come in. Maybe Alyssa, before we switch, we'll just take a couple questions here. So is there a way to for a moderator to add a written introduction or provide written context in Whova for their asynchronous session? Ooh, Alyssa?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, Danielle?
Is there a way for a moderator to add a written introduction or provide written context in Whova for their asynchronous session or a video introduction?
Yeah, yes, actually moderators are inputted into Whova. It's kind of silly as speakers, but you are labeled as a session moderator. So if you would like to do a pre-recorded video, you do have that add talk button just like a speaker would. And I would also encourage moderators to use, Whova has various chat capabilities. So it will be included in your session and you'll see that on the side. So if you have notes you wanted to include, definitely use those chat functions.
Next question, how does timing work if your session only has 3 presenters? So for this sort of session, this comes from Whitney King. Whitney, the session will, you would operate it as normal. So it would be 3 sessions. And if somebody had missed in between, somebody had accident, somebody fell ill, you would use that time for a facilitated discussion with your remaining presenters. And I would urge you to like think through a few questions to help facilitate that with a larger group discussion. So you still maintain that 90 minutes, and if at all possible, like I had mentioned, if somebody had dropped out in between, so the first speaker's there, the second isn't, the third is, don't just rush the third speaker up to the second spot, because people may be coming in and out of the session to see a particular talk. So you're urged to fill that time with a talk or with conversation before you move to the next talk. Yeah, Kristen?
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to jump in really quickly right there. For the people that I know going in where we have a hole, I'm trying to put all those facilitated discussions at the end of the session. However, like Danielle said, if someone is sick, then that's another, I can't do anything about that at that time.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. So Kristen Perry is works for Tetra Tech, and she has been our main point of contact with you all. So I'm sure you're all familiar with at least her email byline. So thanks for joining, Kristen, and thank you for that information. Okay. Yes.
I'm just going to jump in here quick, Danielle. I'm seeing some questions about being registered but not being able to get into Whova. So right now Whova is live, but it is only for presenters and moderators. So if like Jessica here, she's standing in for a colleague, so it's likely that her colleague is input into Whova right now. So that's just a simple case of we just need to switch it out and get Jessica in there, get her email in there. So if you have questions like that, just shoot me an email at the email I put in the chat. It's nmc@nalms.org, and me and or my colleague Philip can help you get access.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, that's helpful. All right, I did also see a question from Richard. Will presenter view be available during in-person presentations? I'm not sure. Do you mean like, Richard, you can take yourself off mute if you want, but do you mean more of a hybrid version?
No, so I just mean like in PowerPoint, when you have your notes available to read, I usually like to have a little script when I'm presenting. So sometimes you just see your slides, but other times there's the actual like presenter screen in front of you.
That's a good question. I think that's probably however you started up, if it's just in presenter view. I think Kristen, do you know better? They can start their own presentation, right? Like the moderator will pull it up, but they can start it in presenter view if that's easier. Or is it?
We try to, Danielle, we try to make sure that all of them get started in presenter view. Usually the majority of the presentations are already started, pinned at the bottom, where you just have to open them up and they come in presenter view at that point. And I believe all the software is up to date usually on our laptops to allow for that to happen.
Okay, and just to clarify, like when you're dealing with, you have your screen that's being presented, and then you have the screen in front of you. So what I mean by presenter view is, yeah, okay, just to make sure. Thanks.
Yeah,
at
Richard,
least in the last live conference we had, that was the case in Denver. We made sure everything was in presenter view.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to print out too, just to make sure if that were, you know, in case something happens or we can't figure it out. Yeah, it might be a good idea to print out what you have written or what you would like to say, just in case. All right, and then let's see here from Susan Jackson for a session that person that is in person and recorded. We were planning that the in-person session would last 15 minutes, but the recorded sessions could be 20-25 minutes since there's no in-person discussion time. I think that's perfectly fine, Susan. The what's recorded is separate. That's fine, but just know that the in-person sessions are limited to the 90-minute time. So we want to make sure to give everyone equal opportunity to talk. Yeah, that's fine. All right, I think we're at the end of our questions. So Alyssa, I'm going to pass off. Oh, unless we have one more hand up. Sorry. That hand is still up or not. Yeah, I'm on top.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So from my organization, we had submitted two abstracts, one for in-person and one for remote. Unfortunately, because of funding cuts or whatever, the offline person won't be able to attend or register for the conference, but I will be coming in person, but I also wanted to record and take on the other presentation from the same organization. Is it okay to do that, or any instructions on that?
Yeah, why don't you email Kristen and I afterwards, and we can work through that. Monty or Dave, do you have any feedback on that right now?
Were you suggesting to switch presenters on the live presentation or be able to give the asynchronous presentation live? I didn't quite understand the question.
Okay, so I am registered as in person at the meeting, and I'll be coming to give my presentation in person. But my colleague who is asynchronous won't be able to register. So what I wanted to do was record her presentation together with me. And as I'm registered, I wanted to upload that so that, that opportunity is not lost.
Yes, yeah, you could do that. I mean, we prefer the presenter be the person who records it, but if you wanted to do something where both were recording, I think that would be fine.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Bob Schreiber did just comment, just a warning, be sure to protect against viruses coming in via USB. So yeah, please don't bring us any viruses for these computers. We do have 1 or 2 backups ready, but it would be awesome if we didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, thank you for that suggestion, Bob.
Well, that's why you want the PowerPoints coming in via email before the conference so they can be loaded in advance.
Yep. Yeah, Susan, that's ideal. But I know there's going to be a number of people that will still be tweaking the day before. And we asked them to bring the USB just in case there's some sort of technical issue. But ideally, we don't have to deal with USBs at all. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Alyssa. I'm sorry. Here we go. I'll mute myself.
No worries. Thanks, Danielle. So I'll just briefly introduce myself again for folks who may have jumped on after that. My name is Alyssa Anderson, and I'm the Director of Development and Marketing for the North American Lake Management Society, or NOMS. And me and my couple of colleagues, we do kind of a lot of the logistical and background stuff for the National Monitoring Conference. So Danielle has already gone over a lot of great stuff about Whova, but I'm going to give a quick demo here on how to upload a presentation into that conference app. So the first and most important thing to note is that Whova does not accept PowerPoint presentations when you go to upload your talk. So the file needs to be converted into an MP4 video file first, and simple instructions for how to do that are included in presenter guidelines that were sent out to you by Kristen. The second question you're likely asking is, where do I go to upload my talk? And that's exactly what I'll be covering in these next couple of minutes. So you were sent an individual speaker link earlier this week on Tuesday. And I know some folks, we need to work out switching emails and stuff, and we'll get that all sorted for you. And I would also encourage you to check your spam folders. If you didn't receive that, Whova likes to be sneaky sometimes and can go into the spam folders. And you will use this link to update your bio, upload a photo of yourself if you so choose, and then most importantly, of course, is uploading your presentation. So I'm going to share my screen now to show you. Right. All right, can you guys all see a screen that says 13 National Monitoring Conference at the top?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Danielle. So when you click your speaker link, it will take you to a page that looks like this. You'll see my information in here right now just as a test. If you have used Whova for past conferences or for the virtual monitoring conference in 2021, you might find that you already have this info inputted into your profile. So you can just update that as you see fit. Scrolling down here, you'll see speaker information here. Now is where we get into the kind of the nitty gritty, which is the session information. So your session title, just label test for this one, and your session description have been already input into Whova by us. Your session description is where we included your abstract text. Scrolling down even further, if you have any handouts or documents that you'd like to upload, you may do so right here. Note that they changed it. It used to be 2. Now they're offering 3. Hooray. So there is a maximum of 3 documents that you can upload. So I'll just click that here to add a document, just label this test document. And then you would go here to choose your file. My file, I want to upload the moderator instructions. You add it here. And then you'll see in your speaker form, you can now see that document right here. To upload your talk, you'll see recorded video, add video. And now you're going to see a few options here. If your video is very large and you're having a hard time making it smaller, you may choose to upload your talk to YouTube and share that link. YouTube does have privacy settings so that you can set it to unlisted, and then only folks with the link can view it. So we've had success with folks using YouTube in the past, and just making it unlisted, and then only conference attendees can view it. So it's not just on YouTube for everybody to see. The other option right here, just pretend this doesn't exist. It hasn't worked out for us in the past. But the other option right here is to simply upload your file from your computer. I'll click here so you can see what that looks like. I would recommend your video title here be kind of an abridged version of your presentation title, plus your first and last name. So when you upload a video into Whova, it's going to be under your session, of course, but it will also be, we have a documents panel as well as a video panel. So all of the videos will also be in one spot, as well as in your session. So it just makes it easier to find if you use your name and your title. So I'll just put test video here as well as my name. And then you'll go to choose file here. Here's my video I want to upload. I click save. And now don't be afraid if this takes a little bit of time, especially if you have a larger file size. It can take up to 10 minutes to upload. So don't be afraid, just let it sit here. You can do other work during that time. But once this gets uploaded, we're going to see an upload video success kind of come up here. So we'll just give this a second. It's a small video, so we should be successful here in a moment. And we were successful. So upload video success here. You can see my video is now inputted into my profile. Moving down here, you may choose to add topics for discussion. Down further, any articles of interest that might relate to your talk, and your social media handles if you so choose. But of course, these three are just kind of to get the conversation going. You're certainly not obligated to do that. So Whova makes you answer this silly question, and it'll get mad if you don't. So you can, if you wanted to be added to whatever this list is, you can click yes. I opted to say no, thank you. But the very important last step is to hit this blue save button. So you are going to be done once you hit this save button, and you get this nice thank you screen that pops up. If you are social media savvy and you'd like to promote your talk, there's various options here where you can do that. You can also see that my video has been uploaded successfully, because if I go to the front end of Whova here, this is what all of our conference attendees will see. This is the web version. There's also a mobile app version that looks much the same. So I'll go to the agenda. My test session is on Friday, so going through the days here. Okay, so you can see that my video uploaded successfully because there is now this little green video icon next to my test session on the agenda. This is a nice indicator that your video has uploaded, but don't be afraid if you uploaded a video and then you immediately go up to the front and you don't see that green button. As long as you see this nice thank you, you have been successful. Sometimes, especially if there's a lot of folks uploading at one time, it can take up to 10 to 15 minutes for this to process onto the front end, but it will get there. If you do realize later that there is something that you might have missed or you'd like to amend in your profile, you want to tweak something in your abstract text, you can do that. Just use that same speaker link to go back and make those edits. Like I said, we did send those out on Tuesday. We will be sending out reminders with the same speaker link. Email us at nmc@nalms.org if you're having trouble accessing Whova. We are more than happy to help you with that. And that's it. I would encourage you to utilize the Whova guides. There are really nice help guides. There are video guides, and those are included at the very top of your speaker form. as well as the really nice moderator and presenter instructions that have been put together and shared by Kristen and Danielle. So please also note that Whova is currently only live for moderators and presenters. So you guys can access this all right now. Moderators, this is very helpful if you want to get in and look at your sessions and read the abstracts. But it is not currently live for all of the attendees, just because we still have some tweaks we need to make. But that will probably happen for attendees. We still need to kind of discuss that time frame. But in the past, it's been about 2 weeks before the conference. But you guys have access right now, and if you don't, we will help you and make sure you do. But that's it for me.
Thanks, Alyssa. Just one question. So there's no way to input when you're in the actual app. It has to go through that presenter link that was sent.
That's correct. Yep. It has to go through that speaker link that we sent because it is individualized and personalized just to you. So every speaker has their own special link. So you can't just go onto the front end of Whova and go to your session and try to upload there. It has to be through that link.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other questions for Alyssa? Susan Jackson, when you added your video, was it in MP4 already?
Yep, that's just kind of a little sample email I like to use. So it was already in the MP4 file. If you're creating PowerPoints, we do have instructions in the presenter guidelines of how to transport that into an MP4. It's pretty simple, I believe, just a couple of steps.
Awesome. Emily says, I'm not seeing myself as the moderator in a related asynchronous session that goes with my in-person session, and I don't see other moderators for the other asynchronous sessions in there either. We might need to get back to you on that one. Thanks, Emily. And then go ahead.
Yeah, Bob's question for attendees who are both a moderator and a speaker, do they have to enter bio and other info twice? No, you do not. It's all kind of related to your email address. So you just have to do it one time, and then it will update for all of the presentations that you're involved in, whether as a speaker or a moderator.
Great. Thank you, Alyssa, for going over that. I have the slides back up. Can you see my slides again?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So just reiterate what Alyssa just said, making sure that your presentation is an MP4 video file or a YouTube link if it's really big. Other formats, PowerPoint formats won't work. You need to complete it via your presenter link that you've received. Please update your bio, photo of yourself, pronouns, whatever you'd like to add in there. Click the add video, select the appropriate one. You can add in supporting documents. Alyssa showed you how to do that. Could be anything. There's even a create a poll option. And then make sure that all important save button at the bottom. If you don't scroll down and press save, it hasn't saved. So please make sure to do that. Let's see here, Mark Sutherland. If we just registered last night, is our individual link to Whova pending?
I will check on that for you, Mark.
Thank you. I think I've been getting stuff to 2 different emails too, so that could be a problem. But I've checked them
Okay.
both.
Okay, sounds good.
The joys. All right. So yeah, just make sure, make sure to look for that scene or that thank you for sharing or your presentation screen that she had up at the end to know that your information has gone into Whova, and you can go and check and look for that little green camera. People who are presenting as poster presenters, once again, in-person presenters are strongly encouraged to upload either a PDF of your poster or even a short video of you going over your poster. That's awesome as well. Asynchronous poster presenters are required to do this. Should be a pretty easy lift. The most presentations seem to be made in PowerPoint slides anyways, so it should be pretty easy to upload if you so choose. Poster sizes must be no larger than 3.75 feet tall by 6 feet wide. And all posters are going to be shown in the exhibition hall. So we've got a nice big space for it this year. The poster session will be on Wednesday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. This is the only time that poster presenters, in-person poster presenters, are required to be by their poster. Otherwise, you are free to write into Whova and tell people, hey, I'm going to be at my poster between 10 and 10:30 on Tuesday morning, and also 4 to 5:30 on Wednesday night, or something like that. So people can come and chat with you and see that you'll be available to talk about your work at that time. So once again, utilize that Whova for your benefit. We are going to encourage everybody to be utilizing Whova as they go. You can download it on your phone even. So there are lots of opportunities to, really extend the extent of this conference. Some important logistic dates. So the setup, starting at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, April 25th, you can start to set up your poster. There will be poster boards with your labeled session and name and all of your information on it already for your placement. So you'll have a place for your poster right away. And then posters need to be taken down by no later than noon on Thursday afternoon. So please keep those times in mind. This is the same slide that was shown before. Just wanted to reiterate that the National Monitoring Conference does not endorse specific products or services. So make sure that if you are representing a corporation or projects that were conducted by corporations, that you avoid using traded names or branded names and just use a generic descriptor instead. So moderators, the one thing I do want to note right away, we've been getting some questions about this, and I thought this was a capability in Whova, and I was mistaken. In the moderator instructions, we told folks that they should be able to contact all of or get the contact information for all of their presenters in Whova. Due to security and privacy issues, that information is not readily available. So we are working on a form or on an Excel spreadsheet that we'll get out to you later today that has all of that information involved on it. So it should have your presenters, all the presenters associated with your sessions, their contact information, and their abstract names as well. So be on the lookout from that. That'll come in from Kristen later on today. In general, the moderators have kind of a big task. They're going to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So they're going to read over all of the abstracts from the presenters in the session before the conference begins, and these are all available on Whova. So if you have any, as a presenter, have any updates, make sure that you go and update on Whova. They're going to be in touch with your presenters ahead of time, just to make sure that everyone knows who everyone is, and if there are any questions or anything, they can get a better feel of what's going to happen. They're going to remind the presenters of the rules of the session, so that's why you need to get there 15 minutes early. They're going to make sure that there's no AV issues or anything like that, and if there is, they're going to contact the right people here and help get that all sorted so everything runs smoothly. They're also going to briefly introduce the in-person presenters. So this is a change from previous conferences where the moderator would give a little biography about the presenter coming up. So we feel that the best way for somebody to present or to be introduced is by themselves, as nobody knows you better than you. So please make sure to have that information ready to go for your own presentation. The moderator will just give your name and affiliation. They are going to be responsible for the timing and the moderating of the discussion. So they will have questions ready after they read your abstracts, and they will help facilitate that discussion and conversation with the audience. They're going to ensure that flow of presenters from one presenter to the next. And then, as I mentioned, they're going to be prepared with a question for each presenter at the end in case there are any need to spur discussions. Though not usually necessary because people are really interested in hearing everyone's talks. They are also going to highlight asynchronous presentations. And I mentioned this when I went over the asynchronous presentations, and I just wanted to showcase this at the end here. So a number of people who will be presenting in person or presenting asynchronous may also be attending in person. And, we want to make sure that we are highlighting all of this work because it's important. And just because they're not there in person or the presentation isn't being given live at the conference, it is important to highlight it. So here we have a slide, and this will be available and up at the beginning of every session. It's going to indicate what the session title is, who the moderator is, the timing, And then on the left side will be the people that you'll see in person. These are the 4 talks that will be given during that session. On the right side will be this associated asynchronous talks. So we've asked that the moderators poll the audience and make sure that none of the asynchronous presenters are there if they are there in person. If they're there in person, they're going to ask you to like stand up, give a wave, just to let people know that you are there and that you are capable of talking about your work as well, even if there isn't time in this session to do so, so that there's a greater connectivity amongst our asynchronous crowd and our in-person crowd. So that kind of wraps up the majority of the work that I have here, and I'm just happy to take any additional questions. I did give a couple of contacts here, so Alyssa and Philip Forsberg, who are our Whova and extraordinaire folks, and work with mostly with Whova here, or the most well knowledgeable ones, can be reached at nmc@nalms.org. I also gave my information in case you have any sort of general comments or questions about your presentation. Of course, there's also Kristen Perry as well. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have. Feel free to raise a hand or just speak or write it into the chat. I'm happy to ask or to answer. Yeah, James.
Hi, yeah, concerning for moderators, I've logged on to Whova and I'm trying to figure out how to view abstracts of those presenting in the session I'm moderating. Is that, you said it's possible, but I'm not seeing how to do that. Are there instructions somewhere?
Yeah,
Sorry,
do you mind if I just share my screen really quick?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll find a session here.
Yeah, and I did see Susan asking about the slides. Yes, the presentations, and we can send the slides as well, will be available on the National Monitoring Council Conference website. So if you would like to review at a later date, you can do that.
Okay, so here's how you view your abstracts. So let's just dive into session F1 here. So everything will be as a subsession. So if you go in and view, so for Bob Schreiber's talk, here's his abstract right here. So then you'll just go back for that same session. F1 is where we were. And then if you wanted to view the next one, and here's Candace's abstract. So the abstracts are all in the subsessions of the session that you are moderating.
Great, thanks. What I'm encountering is an interface issue. I'm on a web version and I need to figure out what I'm doing in Whova since I don't use it very frequently, but I can figure it out.
Okay, yeah, feel free to drop us an email if you need help. There's also really nice Whova help guides that have some tutorials as well.
Any other questions?
I was just going to ask about the full agenda. Since I'm not on Whova yet, I haven't seen a full agenda to know what days. I'm trying to get my travel straightened out. I know when I'm talking, but I don't know what's going on the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And actually, right as you said that, Bruce Cania also asked the same thing. When's the event? Is the agenda available yet? So the agenda is provided on the National Monitoring Conference. It says I think it says program on the side. Yeah, it says program, and you should be able to click on it, and it actually is updated by Whova. So that should load and provide the whole conference.
Thank you.
I just popped it in the chat there for folks.
Ah, thank you. All right, and let's see here. When is registration open and what time does it finish on Friday? Do you mean registering for the conference? Sorry, Bruce. I don't know if you can.
What time does the actual, this is Anne, by the way, what time we need to be there and then how long do we need to be there for? Same question as I think has already been asked, but just making our travel arrangements now.
Okay, yes. Well, the main body of the conference is Tuesday through Thursday. So Monday is there, unless you're attending one of the field trips, or there's a side meeting or something that you're a part of, anytime on Monday. So I think registration is going to open up at like 11 on Monday. And there will be people there to help you all the way up until like 6 p.m. I think 6 or 8, right, Alyssa? And there will be
That's-
registration open up the whole time.
Right, so if we don't get there till late on Monday, we can register as a first thing on Tuesday.
Yes, yeah. I think
Good.
registration opens up at like 6:30 or 7 on Tuesday morning. So knowing a lot of people will be getting in later on Monday and you know, just kicking off right away the next day.
Fantastic, thank you.
Welcome. All right, so let's see here. Nick said, just so you're aware, the speaker registration link for HUVA is buried in an email inviting you to this webinar. At the bottom of this email, it should say, we are also reaching out to you to ask you to upload your bios and talks through the individual speaker form here. It's convenient to access online, and you can update this form as many times as needed. So thank you, Nick, for pointing that out. So yes, in the invite to this presentation is your link. So let's see here. Will the agenda indicate sessions are related, such as the 3 for the National Groundwater Monitoring Network, F1, G1, and H1? Thanks for highlighting F1 just now, of course. No problem, Robert. So Alyssa, do you have is there a clear indication, or is there something that can be added to that so that it shows?
Oh yeah, that's something we could definitely do.
Yeah.
Basically, we'll just be including a link to encourage folks to check the other sessions out. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Thanks for that, Bob. Oh, Susan, just hit the link that Alyssa posted for the conference and received a message that EPA blocked the access. I will try again, but is there another portal to go through? So Susan, I've been having this issue as well, and I have been in contact with Easy Tech this is for EPA folks, to try to get that to straighten out. If you go on HUVA on the actual website, so if you click onto that link that Alyssa had sent to you, it'll bring you to the actual document. Not just a form that pulls out of HUVA. So for some reason, it's acting funky, and I'm trying to get that taken care of for across the agency, but I haven't heard back yet. So it's on my list, and I hope to get that here shortly. Andres asked, do I need to fill out the form even if I'm only presenting the poster? So yes, so if you are presenting a poster, please fill out the bio, please fill out the information on there. If you feel comfortable doing so, we'd encourage you to upload it if you are presenting in person. Yeah, please do. Oh, and then wanted to highlight something that Sylvia has mentioned in the chat. There is a National Water Quality Monitoring Council training on transforming your hidden racial bias on April 10th and 17th. It's listed in the current agenda, but it is outside the actual dates of the conference. It's before the conference. So I'd urge everyone to go on and check that out. She gave a link to register for that in the chat as well. All right. Any last minute question here? Now we're down to our last 3 minutes. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Be on the lookout for this presentation and the recording. We'll put that up on the National Monitoring Conference website so that you have easy access to it, and happy to answer any questions at any time. Just give me a shout. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks, Danielle.